What's up, everybody? Danny Segura here. I am joined by UFC featherweight Shane Burgos, and today we're going to be breaking down tomorrow's card, UFC 249 in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm pretty excited about this. We're just talking off camera here how we've been deprived of sports, and on top of re-entering sports and getting to see live sports again, it's a fantastic card, and we're both pretty excited, right, Shane?
100% cannot wait for this card. I can't wait. I'm so pumped to start fighting back. It's been March 14th was the last card, I think.
Yeah, Brazilian.
It's been a while, man. I'm ready to get this shit back.
Yeah. Is it almost a huge, not huge, but like a storyline that always lasted, like what was always a thing at all times was like, there's a fight card every week, and like, oh my god, and like people would complain now.
I
Like,
wasn't one of those
do you
people,
think
but
this
I
break
never
was
did
either
that.
needed or something like that to kind of remind people and let people know, like, hey, don't take this shit for granted?
Exactly. I agree. I didn't take it for granted, man. I love the cards every week. That was like what I look forward to every weekend.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get right into it. People tuned in for UFC 249 talk, so let's do it. Uh, First of all, the main event: Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje, set for the interim title here in the lightweight division. This is a fight that maybe Tony Ferguson could have avoided. I mean, if he would have been like, "Oh no, I'm good. I'm gonna sit on the sidelines," I don't think all that many people would have complained, considering what he's done in the weight class, what he's done in the past few years. First of all, were you surprised he took on Gaethje? Because Gaethje's game, man.
Not surprised, not even a little bit surprised. You know Tony Ferguson. Everybody knows Tony Ferguson. That's a Tony Ferguson move right there. So I'm not even remotely shocked. It's a dangerous fight, though, man. It's not an easy fight, and the fact that I got pushed back even further, I think it makes it even more dangerous. Gaethje had more time to prepare. I'm like, when he first got announced, I think it was on 2 weeks' notice. I was like, all right,
Yeah.
I'm leaning towards Tony, obviously, because he had a full camp. Now I'm like, this is like 50-50 almost.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I actually did a podcast with Chris Molina, I believe his name was. He hit me up. He has a podcast like around 5 p.m. and I said the exact same thing. Like closer to the April 18th date, I was leaning towards Ferguson, given the fact that he had a full campaign and Gaethje was just, you know, I mean, not coming off the
Yeah.
couch. I'm sure he's always training and stuff, but not getting ready for a world class fight either. Um, yeah, those 2 weeks. How much work as a fighter? Like, you know how much work you can put in 2 weeks. How much of a benefit would that be if you were to fight a guy on short notice and they're like, wait, no, hold up, you got 2 more weeks. How much of a factor are those 2 weeks?
That's huge. You get 2 extra weeks to prepare, 2 extra weeks to put in some serious work into game plan for that specific opponent. He only had 2 weeks. Sorry, the cat. He only had 2 weeks from the jump. Now has an extra two, so he had, I think, maybe like a 4 or 5 week camp. It makes it a completely different fight. Because like I said, on short notice, I was leaning heavy towards Tony. I was like, Tony in those fourth and fifth rounds, I was like, that's gonna be scary if you're not in 100% like your best shape.
Yeah. Do you almost see this like as a good opportunity for Justin Gaethje in the sense of, I don't know. There's something to be said about like not being, because he was not complaining, but he was upset at the fact that the games of the politics right in the
Yeah,
fight game, and basically there was talk of Conor McGregor possibly jumping in there and fighting Khabib Nurmagomedov, and it seemed he was on this streak and he was kind of getting forgotten. He was upset, and now he's getting this opportunity to fight Tony Ferguson. Is that almost a benefit, like the fact that he knows that like I have to win here, because if not, I mean,
yeah,
not only am I gonna get pushed back, but the politics. You never know how long it'll get back to get put to that
yeah.
spot.
It was one of those things. I think it was probably like it was no brainer for him. It was like, yeah, take it. This is your opportunity. 100% take it. And even though he wasn't in obviously in a fight camp, I think there's no way he was going to turn that down. But that first round, I know he's going to go balls to the wall, and I don't know if he's planning on saving his. I mean, he never really does. You see the way he fights. I think
Yeah,
that first round is going to be insane. I think he's going to come in there and try to take Tony out in that first round.
yeah, I think so too. Um, and let's talk about something interesting that happened a few weeks ago. So Tony Ferguson, like Tony Ferguson does, he decided to make weight for the April 18th date. Nobody forced him to. It was a canceled fight. He knew it was probably going to get postponed, somewhat soon. We didn't know. Yet he decided to make weight. I've seen some people take to Twitter and some critics be like, I don't know, man, making weight, in 2 weeks, that's rough for the body. I don't know if that was a smart decision. And then you got Ferguson. I actually asked him this on the UFC 249 media call on Tuesday. And he's like, so what do you say? What do you think about those critics? He didn't even let me finish the question. And he's like, fuck those guys. Those guys are a bunch of bitches. That's what he said. Uh, I mean, you cut weight, you fight. What's it like? First of all, have you ever cut weight within a 2 week, a 3 week span?
Yeah, my UFC debut, I took on 2 weeks notice,
Okay.
2.5 weeks notice. So yeah, I did do that, and that wasn't fun. But dude, that like I said, this is why I'm not surprised he took the fight with Gaethje. That's Tony Ferguson shit right there. Like,
Yeah.
he would do that. He's the type of guy that's gonna do something like that where he didn't need to do that just to be like, yeah, I think it was like a little bit of a like a I don't know what the word is, like maybe like a push at Khabib,
Hmm.
just making the weight and being like, yeah, I showed up still. I think that's what it was for that date that they were scheduled for. But man, in my opinion, if I was in his shoes, fuck that, no shot, no shot, no shot. I'm cutting weight and then doing it again in a couple
Yeah.
weeks, no shot.
And I guess the conversation around that situation is centered around Tony Ferguson. But if you're fighting the dude and his crazy ass made weight, 3 weeks before when he didn't have to, like, what does that even send you any type of message? Or like, how would you feel if sort of you were faced with someone that decided to take things, down that path?
No sweat off my back. I'd be like, dude, go, knock your socks off.
Mm-hmm.
I do not care. If anything, I don't see how that can benefit you in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
If anything, it can only hurt you, right? It literally can't benefit you. It can only hinder your performance in the future. You got to recover from that, and you got to come back. It's like, I'd be like, go ahead, be my guest.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious to see like if it'll affect his actual performance, because man, that would be like a crucial, like a critical mistake if it came down to that. Say like it came down to cardio
Yeah,
or something of that. Do you think it
I
could be
don't.
possible?
If it was a little, if it was maybe if it's like a week, but I
Hmm.
think 3 weeks. I think it's been right. So I think he's got enough time to. I think he's recovered from it
Yeah.
at this point. It was just another like a knock on everybody else. I think.
Usually, when you make weight, around how much time would it take you to feel 100% normal after getting down, to the weight class weight?
I'd say probably within normal, as in like fight normal.
I don't know. I mean, I've never cut
Yeah,
weight to that extent, but I'm
yeah,
guessing I'm guessing normal in 24 hours because you're ready for fight night. But I guess after the fact, after you fought and everything, like that span for you to return back to normality, or is there even
yeah.
a time period that it takes for?
No, there definitely is. Like that first hour is like
Mm,
you're not feeling too hot. I'd say like 6 hours go by and you're like, dude, I'm feeling pretty freaking good. I'd say by 12 hours, I feel back to normal,
okay,
100%.
yeah. And does it give you a little bit of a mental edge heading into a fight, like making the fact of actually hitting the mark and making weight, because it's a very methodical and it takes a lot of discipline to make that weight cut. Is it something like reassuring going into a fight? Like, yeah, I made that weight.
Uh, I don't think of it
Hmm.
like that. Honestly, I fucking hate cutting weight. It's
Yeah,
the worst part of the sport. And it takes so like I'm a big 45er too, so it
yeah,
takes a lot of discipline for me to do it. So I, I'm literally just focused on hitting that fucking number. That's the only thing I'm thinking about. I'm not thinking about anything else. Just getting my fucking number, hitting that number, and then as soon as I'm done, get off that scale and go rehydrate.
yeah. And let's talk about the fight here. It's a good fight. It's an interesting fight. Obviously, I think it's one of the best bookings you can make within the flyweight division. But were you almost, as a fan, were you almost a little bit upset at the fact that because of this booking, there could be a chance that we might not see the Ferguson Khabib fight if things don't go well for Tony Ferguson on Saturday?
Yeah, honestly, there's a chance. This is not an easy fight. It's a risky fight, and obviously, if Tony loses, I don't know where that puts him. He's gonna have to come back and earn his way back to Khabib again, and it kind of kills that. It'll definitely 100% kills that steam and that momentum because he's on a 12 fight win streak right now.
Yep.
That so like who does everyone wants to see that fight, and if Gaethje takes him out, that kind of dies. But I think Gaethje versus Khabib is a phenomenal fight too, though.
Yeah.
So either way, we're getting a good fight.
Yeah. That's kind of the silver lining. I had a few people like reach out and be like, oh, I'm kind of upset of the booking, and like it would suck if Tony Ferguson loses and this and that. But I'm like, I mean, I don't disagree, but at the same time, we'd be getting Gaethje versus Khabib, and that's not a bad fight either.
Oh, that's a phenomenal fight too. Like just thinking about how that's going to go. That first
Mhm.
round is going to be insane too. And Gaethje is phenomenal wrestling, really good defensive wrestling, and that I want to see both those fights. Honestly, it just sucks that they got one of them isn't going to happen
Right.
anytime soon.
Yeah. You can't have it all, apparently. And let's talk about the actual fight. I mean, this is a fantastic booking. Both guys very unique, but equally as violent. How do you see this playing out? Like in your mind, how do you see the fight evolving between the two?
Like, who am I picking?
Sure, we can get to that later, but as far as what do you think we expect as far as the action? Like, how would you see the fight playing out?
It's going to be very interesting because if you look at their fights, I've been watching their fights for the last couple of weeks. There's nothing else to watch on freaking TV, so I've been watching Fight Pass, just studying their fights, and they're both forward pressure fighters. They're both used to going forward and never going back. Whether they win or lose, they're always going forward. So it's going to be weird to see which one is going to have to basically, as soon as it starts, they're going to meet in the middle, and one of them is going to have to go back. I don't know which one that's going to be. So I'm really excited just to see that. I don't know if this is going to be. I don't see it going that long, honestly. I think it's going to be a 1 or 2 rounder, honestly. I really do. Yeah.
Who'd you give the edge in striking to? Because I mean, both are very good, but they're also very distinct strikers too.
I do. I give it to Gaethje. Yeah, his low kicks. I think he has some of the best low kicks in the game, and then he's got power in that right hand, man. Yeah. Whether it's straight, whether it's looping, he throws, and even when he's not even throwing that hard, he hits hard. So it's gonna be an interesting fight. But Tony's got those fucking elbows, man. Especially when if they come in close, like right off the bat, and Tony just lands one of those elbows, he can cut Gaethje right off the bat, and that can just end the fight. It's a crazy fight, man.
Yeah, it is. I guess that's something I haven't considered. Like we could. I'm not. Look, knock on wood. I don't want this to happen. Yeah. But like it wouldn't be far fetched to think that the fight could end in a referee stoppage because of a cut.
Yeah.
Given what Ferguson could do.
And like I said, Gaethje is always in your face, and the closer you are to Ferguson, the easier it is for him to land those elbows. So you kind of playing with your poison there. Like he wants to be inside, but then you got to also be careful because those elbows, that dude cuts everybody.
Yeah. Would you say that's like one of the most effective tools in MMA, like the elbows, because you can use them from the clinch, striking as well. You can throw that depending on the range. You can use it from the bottom if you're grappling, or top. I mean.
Yeah,
it's probably the most versatile tool, right?
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I never really thought about it, but you got to be good at using them. And Tony Ferguson, I think, is probably the best at using his elbows, which is interesting because you don't really train elbows too much in sparring. Yeah. Like you can't really we put elbow pads on, but we're not really hitting each other too much. You're not really throwing that many elbows. So the fact that he's so comfortable throwing them and landing them, like John Jones is also really good at them too. Good, yeah. Props to them because that's not something that's. You kind of got to train it, but you can't really train it too much because it's risky. You might break your fucking training partner's nose or something.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I would say John Jones is definitely up there. But the thing with John Jones, at least from what I can remember, all the fights that I've seen him throw elbows, it's usually striking or the clinch. Ferguson is like content chilling at the bottom and he can actually cause serious damage, man.
Yeah, 100%. He's throwing them from every spot. It's like he's looking for a spot to throw elbows. When he's on top, he's throwing elbows. When he's on bottom, he's throwing elbows. When he's standing and striking in the clinch, I think he's the best guy when it comes to elbows.
Yeah, for sure. All right, before we get into the pick, who would you think would give who do you think is the biggest threat to Khabib?
Oh, man. Stylistically, I think Tony, just because he's so comfortable, like he doesn't give a fuck if he gets taken down. And when he gets taken down, like we were just talking about, he's always looking for those elbows from the bottom, from the top. It doesn't matter what position he's in, and it only takes one elbow to cut Khabib open, and that could be the fight. He could win the title off of an elbow. He could be losing all 5 rounds. In the 5th round, land a disgusting elbow, split him open, and win. Just one of those.
Yeah, for sure.
That alone just gives him an advantage because Khabib is going to take him down. If Khabib was going to play a different kind of game, it'd be a little bit different. But I don't think Khabib's going to try to strike him. Khabib's going to take him down. And the closer you are to Tony, the more you got to worry about his elbows.
Yeah. We're on the same page about that because, like, when you're fighting Khabib, it's not a question of if he's going to get you to the ground. It's mostly like when, right? And 100%. Using your opportunities on the feet, right? If you're a striker, to capitalize on that. And it doesn't seem jiu-jitsu works on the dude all that much. I mean, we've seen black belts come up short. So I think the elbows are an interesting factor in that matchup for sure.
But Tony, he's always attacking from his back too. From his elbows, he's always throwing submissions up, triangles, guillotines. His rubber guard is really good. I know he works for Eddie Bravo. Yeah. So Khabib can't just go in his guard and just hang out there. I mean, he's gonna have to be cautious. Like Tony, I think has the best offensive guard in MMA too.
Yeah, Yeah.
Like well-rounded offense. Like he has good striking from his back. Like who has good striking from their back?
A few guys. Nico Price was also
I
on
was
the
just gonna
card.
say, yeah, yep. Nico Price. He's
Yeah.
the only guy I can think of that has 2 wins off his back.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say, yeah, I can't think of anyone else who has a most dangerous guard, like considering both submissions and strikes.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
dude can do it all. Yeah.
They're gonna cut you up until you give them a submission. Like if you when you watch the Kevin Lee fight,
Kevin
that's
Lee
basically
fight. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, perfect example of that. Yeah, he's a nightmare to be on top of, which is like almost impossible. Like you never hear of that. Like even in self defense, like you want to be the guy on top.
Yeah.
But with Ferguson is that's not the
You
case.
want to full guard with him, like fuck, I'm going bottom. I'm going
Yeah,
bottom.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You just roll to your back. Yeah. All right, man. Well, let's get into the picks. It seems you were kind of I felt like got the vibe you were kind of leaning towards Gaethje there, but then I don't know. The guard talk kind of swayed me the other way. What are you thinking?
um, like I said, when the fight first got announced, I was like, you know what, this is a phenomenal fight. I wish Gaethje had more time, but he doesn't. So I was like, you know, I got to pick Tony. I can't not pick Tony just because the dude's in phenomenal shape. He's super tough. But now that he's got extra time, I think Gaethje's going to win this fight. I'm leaning. I have a feeling he's going to catch him. Just watching a couple fights, Tony has a bad habit of putting his chin up in the air when he's throwing. We saw Pettis caught him,
Yeah.
but ended up breaking his hand and when he caught him. So I do think Gaethje's going to catch him. I think it's going to be the first or second round. The later the fight goes, though, I definitely do. If it goes to the third round, I'm leaning towards Tony for sure.
Yeah.
But I think Gaethje first or second round TKO.
Yeah, no, you read my mind there, and I know like it feels like I'm agreeing with you on everything, but not. It's not because you're here with me and we're doing this video, but no, I agree. Like, so for MMA Junkie, we do a staff picks article, and it comes out I believe the day of the fight, right? So it would be tomorrow, and we all submit the picks early in order to get everything formatted and everything ready to publish. And dude, before I hit that send button on the email, I took a good like 5 minutes like typing in Ferguson. Then I'd be like, no, Gaethje. And I was like, it just seems like all logic says Ferguson, given the fact the win streak, the fact that he's been getting ready for the UFC 249 card rather than taking the fight on short notice. But at the same time, it's just like there's something about Gaethje just jumping right in there, and the way he's looked also in the past 3 performances, like it's a new Gaethje. He's clearly a different fighter, a smarter fighter.
Yep.
That I'm just like, I don't know. And like you mentioned, Ferguson has been hit before in the past, and he's been dropped as well. And he's been dropped by fighters who have less power than Gaethje. So I don't know.
So who'd you end up picking? Can you release
Ferguson?
Are you picking Ferguson?
Yeah, that's what I put on my official picks for my official staff picks. But I don't know. There's like a weird feeling I have about Gaethje.
Yeah. So if you have Ferguson, how do you have Ferguson winning?
I think things might look a bit ugly for him, maybe in the beginning. Not ugly. I think it'll be competitive. But I think Gaethje could put him in some scary situations where he gets dropped, he gets rocked. But
he recovered like no other too. So
what's up?
He recovers so well.
Right, and something that I think will be a key factor, and we'll see here. And I remember like years ago, so my original jiu-jitsu instructor over in South Florida, back when I lived in South Florida, he's a brown belt from Pedro Sauer. So it was very much Gracie jiu-jitsu, very very kind of self-defense oriented, and very traditional jiu-jitsu. So I remember one time Pedro Sauer came down and did a seminar. And we had somebody in the gym that just loved playing bottom game and De La Riva guard, and he was just very good with his guard. And most of the techniques that Pedro Sauer was going through was top game stuff, getting to mount, stuff like that. That's just because the way their type of jiu-jitsu is built. And so I believe somebody asked him, like, the kid asked him, he was like, is it bad to work on bottom, to have a bad guard? And he's like, no, quite the opposite. Like, if you have a good guard, you always have a home. And that always stuck with me. And I feel like that's even more relevant in MMA. Like, you get dropped, you just go to your back. Like, you get rocked, you go to your back. And who wants to be on top of Ferguson?
If you watch my first fight at MSG, it's exactly what happened. I got put in my butt, and I was like, armbar, there you
go. Yeah, exactly. You always have a home. If you have a good guard, you always have a home.
nobody believes that. Like when I first started training, I was a jiu-jitsu guy. I loved jiu-jitsu and I loved pulling guard. That was my shit. I would just sit in my guard and throw up arm bars and triangles. I was always do that. And I started moving to MMA and I was like, that's a little dangerous now. I can't be doing that. But I made my guard so comfortable that when I am in guard in a fight or in training, I'm comfortable there.
Yeah. I remember that submission from your first fight. You threw that thing up, super explosive.
It was just muscle memory. It's like that. Yeah, we drill those all the time. It's one for warm up, just arm bar, swinging arm bars left and right.
Yeah, so that always stuck with me. Like being on bottom is at least from a self-defense standpoint or a street fight is literally the worst case scenario, right? So if you're good on bottom, like you're good at like the worst case scenario. So I think Ferguson will always have that option where he can just go to his back and Gaethje will be just like, all right, stand up, and while the referee be like, all right, man, you got to get up. There's some time to recover, and I feel like that could play a factor in the fight, to be honest.
That's true. Yeah, I think if Gaethje drops him, I don't see Gaethje chasing him down and going to his guard and getting locked up in the guard. I think Gaethje's gonna say, "Get up."
Exactly.
Yeah. Like right, and that gives Tony he can buy a few seconds. He can stall his get up and recover, and then he can always just drop to his butt again.
By the way, I've never asked a fighter this, but like, because I've never been rocked. I mean, I've dabbled in boxing, and I've gotten punched pretty hard and maybe like wobbled a little bit, but I've never been like dropped where you're on bottom and you're like, wait, what happened? And then you're in the fight, right? What's that like, and how long does it take to recover usually? Like
it depends. Mm-hmm. It depends on how bad it was. Like the fight we were talking about with my Kurt Halba fight. Like he cracked me, and on the way down, I was like, oh my gosh! I was like, you gotta be kidding me! Like I just couldn't control it. I knew exactly what he hit me with. I was like, fucking A. I was like, that's the only punch I had to worry about from him. I just dropped my hand for a second. So like while I was going down, I remember it. But then when I fought Cater, he hit me with a clean fucking uppercut, the right hand behind my ear. I remember that. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, I felt fine, but my equilibrium was so off. And he cracked me with the uppercut. And that's when I was like, I remember it, but it was like, it's a weird, that's the only 2 times I've ever been dropped in my life. So, they were both completely different. Like they really were. Like the Hulk when I was recovered on the way down. The other one, my equilibrium was just so off. I felt fine. I wasn't hurt, but my equilibrium was just like, oh shit, what the fuck's going on? That's never happened to me before.
Right. Yeah. I guess it depends on how hard you get hit and also where too. Like getting rocked on the chin is not the same as like maybe behind the ear or
exactly
like that. Yeah. But would you say like 5 seconds is enough to like say if you don't get hit for the next 5 seconds, it could be enough for you to like make a big difference and recover?
Yeah, definitely. 5 seconds. It could be. But again, it depends on how fucking hard. You see some of these other fighters, like they get dropped and they're on their hands and knees. They're not out, but they're out, and the referee lets it go, and they get hit again, and they go out.
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going with Ferguson. You're going with Gaethje. Still, I think it's kind of a coin toss there. We'll see what happens, but either way, I think it's going to be a fantastic fight, and we're all excited for that. Let's talk about the co-main event. It's actually a pretty interesting fight between Henry Cejudo, the Triple C, defending his bantamweight title against Dominick Cruz. I think probably the greatest bantamweight of all time. I would consider him, right? Safe to say. Yeah. Interesting fight here. How do you feel about the actual booking of it? Because there were other contenders out there like Peter Yan and Aljamain Sterling who clearly have put in the work and deserved a title shot. And yet, Cruz is getting the shot. How do you feel about the actual matchmaking?
I don't know what the logistics of it. Like, I don't know if Sterling was comfortable taking that fight on short notice. I know he's done so much work. I'm sure he wants a full camp. And then with Jan, I know he's in another country right now, so I don't know if he could even come over here. So, I mean, Cruz could. There's a possibility that Cruz was the only option, and he's still a phenomenal option. Like, you got the greatest bantamweight of all time going in against Cejudo, who's looked amazing lately. So that fight alone is, as a fan, I'm happy with the fight. I think it's a phenomenal fight.
Yeah, I am a little bit split because I do feel for guys that have put in the work, but I also understand that Cruz has so much. What would be the word? But like so much.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done so much in the division that like if he wants to return and get a title shot, I feel like, he kind of deserves it.
That's how I feel too.
Yeah, I do feel better about this matchup than the Aldo one because Aldo, he was coming off a loss and he doesn't have much history in the weight class. Not nearly. I know he's a great featherweight, but not like at 135 he hasn't done obviously what what Cruz has done.
Night and day difference between that fight and the Cruz fight. Like the booking Aldo, and then when they booked it at the time too, it was things were normal, and it was kind of like, damn, you're booking Aldo to fight when you got Sterling, you got Jan. Like this is kind of weird. Like now it makes a little bit more sense, and the fight in general just makes more sense than the Aldo fight.
Yeah, for sure. And about the fight itself, like this is an interesting one. I don't know if you saw the weigh-ins, the official weigh-ins, but Cruz clearly has a size advantage over Cejudo.
He's not. He is a 125er. He is. Yeah. He's not. I mean, he's a great fighter and he's a great athlete. So he can translate those skills and move up in weight class. But going against Cruz is just so unorthodox, so weird the way he fights. And then on top of that, he's got a size advantage too. So that makes for an interesting fight.
Yeah, it does. What do you think are sort of the tools that you need to defeat someone like Cruz?
Cody did a great job. He really did a phenomenal job, and I'm a huge Cruz fan, and I was shocked. He did phenomenal in that fight.
Yeah, the best performance of his career.
Yeah, by far, of course. Yeah, but his power, I think, made a huge difference. Was a huge factor in it, and I think Cejudo does have power. So it's going to be interesting. But I don't know, man. Cruz is just so tricky. It's hard to say what you need. He's only lost I think it's 2 losses, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
one
like it
was so early against Uriah. I think it was like 2007.
Yeah, exactly. And then he just lost to Cody, and that one was more clear. But like that was a close fight too. That wasn't even there was some good Cruz had good moments in that fight. So it's hard to say what you need. Cody has power, and Cody's the last one to do it. So I say you need power, I guess.
Yeah, I think you got to be obviously ready for that footwork and sort of the patterns that he uses to come and attack you. I mean, he's so complex as a fighter. I mean, it's crazy to think that like he was a champion so long ago and his game was so good then, but his game is still so good now. Like that means it was so much like so advanced for the time.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, the game hasn't passed him by, even though he hasn't fought in almost 4 years.
Yeah, and he gets guys the way his style is. He kind of lulls them into chasing him.
Yeah.
That's when he's the best. When you're chasing him, he's the best. You kind of got to be patient, and Cody was patient too. Patience and power, I think, would be the 2 keys. When you start chasing him, that's when you just start missing. He's making you look bad, and then on top of that, he's hitting you while you're missing. Yeah. And then when he's not hitting you, he's shooting that knee pick, and he's probably the best knee pick in the game.
Yeah, he does. Actually, I don't know if you remember I don't know what Uriah's favorite fight it was. It might have been the second or the third, but he did. Yeah, yep. One of my favorite techniques. Faber did the one. I mean, he did several good things in the fight, but one of the things that he did and studied at length was the arm underneath the armpit and roll over to come out on top.
Every time, I think Cruz hit that like 3 times, and Faber hit the duck under the roll perfectly. And I was like, you could just tell, like, yeah, he was drilling that. He was 100% drilling that.
Yeah, it's safe to say that. I mean, Cruz can't wrestle Cejudo, right? Cejudo has a clear advantage there, even with the size disadvantage.
Yeah, I don't think he'll even try really. He might try just to set up some strikes, and if he does get a takedown, I think it'll be like one of those just up and then down. I mean, down and then right back up. I don't think he's gonna really try to press that.
Yeah,
I don't know if Cejudo's really even gonna press the takedowns.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I wonder. Yeah, I wonder how that fight looks. I have a lot of questions about how Dominick Cruz is going to look. And I mean, he's clearly obviously a great fighter. One of the things that kind of has me at ease as far as knowing that he's going to put on a good performance is Cruz has never come off as a guy that would take a fight for a paycheck, like, hey, if I lose, whatever. Because we've seen guys do that in the past, especially with big names. He strikes to me as a perfectionist, as someone that, I mean, if he really doesn't think he could beat Cejudo, I don't think he'd step in there.
Completely agree. I think he's showing up to win. I don't think he's just showing up just to fight, just to take part, just to fill the card, just to be a company man. He's coming because he knows and he believes he can win.
Yeah. How big would a win over Cejudo be to Dominick Cruz's career? Like, at this point, like, yeah, he's the greatest bantamweight ever, but like pound for pound, like, what would it do?
He's got to shoot up there, right? Who's number 2 pound for pound? Is it Khabib or is it John Jones? Like,
well, it's hard to go by the UFC rankings because they don't have Demetrius Johnson in it because he's no longer part of the company. Those rankings are only based obviously about the actual promotion. And I think Demetrius is still up there. But as far as the UFC ranking themselves, I'll tell you right now. think John Jones is number 1 if I'm not mistaken. Habib
Probably Jones and then Khabib, I'm assuming.
pound for
And then
pound. Yeah, no, Habib's actually number 2. Jones is number 1, and Henry Cejudo is number 3.
okay, so yeah, so Dominick Cruz wins this fight. He's number 3. I think he jumps right to number 3 too.
Yeah. Do you think he'll have a if he were to win Cruz? Do you think he'll have sort of start a reign and start defending title fights, or do you think this could be like a GSP moment where gets the belt and then dips out?
I hope it's not. I really hope it's not. Especially if he looks good. It's like, oh, don't excite us and then just dip out like that. That would suck. And there's so many good fights for him, like the Sterling fight, John fight. Like I think I want to hope that he's going to stick around. He can't guarantee because he's had so many injuries. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And he's so good at being an analyst too as well. So he doesn't really need to fight anymore. So I mean, I hope he sticks around if he does win.
Yeah. And on the Cejudo equation, how much would a win over Cruz would add to his legacy? Because he's kind of, I mean, he's made no secret about this. Like he's on a Legends tour. He's out there to collect names. That's why he's been calling out the Uriah Fabers, the Dominick Cruz, the Jose Aldos. I mean, his and I saw a few journalists, a few media members throw this out there, but I'll tell you right now, his last 4 opponents. I mean, he beat Demetrius Johnson. I don't need to look this up. Demetrius Johnson, T.J. Dillashaw, Marlon Moraes, and if he beats Cruz, I don't know if that's a historic 4-fight run right there, but pretty.
Yeah, no, it is. He wins that. That solidifies him as one of the greatest ever. Cruz has 2 losses. One was to Uriah Faber back when he was like 20, then one to Cody. Like he wins that fight. That's huge.
In your mind, if he wins that fight, would he be the greatest bantamweight, or do you think that still belongs to Cruz given his history in the division?
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, I don't believe in that. Like if you beat the guy, you're automatically the best of all time. No, it doesn't make sense. You got to defend it. You got to keep it. Like I think if he beats Cruz, he's well on his way to being the best of all time. Especially, it depends on how he beats him. If he finishes him, that's a huge statement.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a huge statement, but I agree. Like, I think something that people discard is like, it doesn't work like that. You just can't pass on the torch. Also, like, I mean, I'm sure, Dominick Cruz is still a very good fighter. I would bet he's still a world-class fighter, but it's like, all right, beat the guy in his prime. We can't go back in time, So it doesn't work like that. Like, you just don't beat someone and that transfers over.
Yeah.
So, I would have to agree with that.
I'm happy we agree with that. Too many people are disregarding some of the greatest of all time just because they had lost a fight. It's like, dude, he's still the greatest of all time.
Right. Yeah. And as far as the pick, what are you feeling here? Like, there's a lot of unknowns about, I mean, Cruz, given, his absence, but he's still one of the greatest. So how do you see this one going, and who's your pick?
It's another fight like the main event. It's one of those fights that's kind of a toss-up to me just because we don't know what we're going to get exactly. So it's a little weird. I don't know how long Cruz has been training. I don't know. I mean, the dude's always in shape, so I would be shocked if he wasn't in shape. So I'm not going to count that as a factor. But just because of I don't believe in ring rust either. Like he doesn't. I know he's a big non-believer in ring rust, and I completely agree with that. But Cejudo's just been looking so good lately. I gotta lean towards Cejudo. But I'm pulling for Cruz, man. I'm a Cruz fan. I'm a huge Cruz fan.
Yeah. One fight that I would like to see, and again, I'm not rooting for anybody because I just don't think it's right for my job, but also just because but from a fan standpoint, if somehow you could get Dominick Cruz to fight Corey Sandhagen at some point, because Sandhagen is basically like he's very much influenced by Cruz and his style, and they both have that thing where they just go.
Yeah, he basically said that. He said he emulated his style and made it his own. But it's funny because TJ did the same thing, and look at those guys. Both those guys are top 5 in the world right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's just a testament to the greatness of Cruz. Like, if your style can last generations, I mean, that says something, right?
Yeah, I remember watching him trying to do the stuff he was doing too. I've been doing that forever. He has some nice moves that they like you said, they translate. He has that knee pick is iconic. The way he sets it up too, and then the way he does that switch step into his left cross is like, oh damn, this dude's fucking, this shit works.
Yeah, that knee pick is one of his signature moves, and certainly one of the like nicest takedowns like out there.
Yeah,
I love that. To be honest, in this one, like I don't even remember what pick I did for the MMA Junkie. I think I might have gone with Cejudo just because like I have more information, like recent information about him, and the recent information that we have is very good. And and he's starting to look even better. Like each fight, like primarily for the most part, he was primarily a wrestler, and then over time, his striking's been getting very, very good. So has his power. But you can't count out someone like Cruz, who's proven to be able to come back from big injuries, and also he's very skilled. So it's kind of a toss up, yeah, like you said. So I'll remain neutral on that one, but I think I went with Cejudo on the staff picks. All right, so let's break down one more fight, and then we'll open things up for fan questions. So if you guys got any questions for Shane or myself or both, feel free to throw them on the chat, and we'll address them. We'll probably do like 5-10 minutes of questions. So make sure to submit questions if you want to ask something. All right, one last fight is a heavyweight bout. I think it should have been a title bout. I don't know how you feel about it. Francis Ngannou versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. I'm not a huge fan of interim titles, but I feel like with the fact that, Stipe has been out dealing with an eye injury, right? And also he's got duties as a first responder and obviously I can't I can't go after anyone that's willing to help out the community during these tough times. I think there should have been an interim belt implemented here between these two. How do you feel about that?
I wouldn't have been mad about it. I'm not a big fan of the interim titles either, but when you don't know when the champion's going to return, it's kind of what the point of the interim title is. And you got two guys that have been looking good lately. I think Ngannou's won his last three, right? 3 fights. And all 3 knockouts, I think, right?
Yep, all 3 stoppages.
And then you got Jairzinho, who's, 5-0 in the UFC or 4-0?
5.
5-0. I think he has all finishes too.
Actually, he's 4-0 in the UFC, all finishes as well.
Yeah.
So that last one barely with Overeem.
Yeah, that was crazy. But so I would have been cool with them making that the interim title fight. But the only thing that muddies the water a little bit is you got DC waiting in the wings. So it's kind of like, let's say Ngannou wins, so now Ngannou's fighting Stipe, or is DC going to fight Stipe, and then the winner of that is going to fight Ngannou? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it does muddy the water, and it kind of, I think they didn't want to do that because they didn't want to do that to DC, because DC has 1 fight left. He said he's making that very public. So I think they want to keep DC's last fight for the title, and the only way to do that, if they did an interim title fight, it would make things a little more confusing.
Yeah, I agree, but this is how I would have taken things as far as if I were the UFC, which I'm obviously not, but I think I would have made that an interim title, and I think, Cormier, given the fact of who he is, what he's done in the sport, and also not only that, but, the Miocic trilogy, they're one apiece, and I think that trilogy fight needs to happen, and, time right now with COVID-19, like a month ago seems like a year ago, but I just remember, like, at the time, like, it just seemed like when Stipe won the belt back, it just seemed like the trilogy was a no-brainer, and it kind of feels like it's going to be somewhat of a historic trilogy when we look back, like, years down the line. I'm not saying it's the biggest rivalry in the world, but it's like a nice little, how in boxing, usually trilogies get immortalized. I feel like this is one that we'll look at, like, okay, the 3 fights, they had at heavyweight. Like, it's gonna be big fights that we'll look back on.
I agree. That's why I'm saying. That's why I don't know if I think that's why they didn't do the interim title fight, right? Because think about it. If they do it, then so if you're the UFC, you do this interim title fight, then what do you do with DC? You still make that fight with DC?
Yeah, and then the interim champion kind of weighed out. I'm trying to think of if they've done any. I mean, I feel like they kind of did that, right? I feel like maybe it happened at some point at the lightweight division. That's why someone got stripped. But basically, it'd just be like to have the next guy in line and make this bout a little bit more meaningful.
And I think if they didn't have the 2 other title fights, I think they would have done that. But they didn't need to do it. They already had those 2. This card is so strong that they didn't need to force us an interim title.
That's true.
I think I think 100%. This fight was like, maybe if those 2 fights weren't on the card, this is the interim title fight for sure.
Yeah. And as far as this fight is it's another weird one, because for the most part, like most fights, I can kind of picture in my head how they could play out. I'll have maybe like a couple scenarios, and obviously, like, sometimes, a lot of times, I'm surprised on how a fight plays out. Maybe I don't see a scenario, but in this one, given the fact that we have somebody that's actually probably willing to strike with Ngannou, and probably a better striker, but also Ngannou's power is just so nasty. Like, I just don't see how that fight looks in my head. How do you think it plays out?
I mean, some people are like saying, don't be surprised if it's like the Derek Lewis fight, Derek Lewis versus Ngannou, and I'm like,
dude, knock on wood, man.
It's like I kind of would be surprised, just because Jairzinho's been calling him out, And you look at the way the guy fights. He has never fought. I mean, it's hard to say because Derek Lewis and Ngannou never fought like that before either. But I don't think Jairzinho is going to come in there respecting his power. I think he's going to come in there to make a statement. And I think he's going to try to take his head off. That's never happened to Ngannou before. And I do think Ngannou has a little bit of a size advantage. He looks like it's the bigger guy if you look at the weight. So I mean, but it's heavyweight, dude. It's like that is that is a toss up of a fight. It really is. It's like whoever lands the first bomb first is gonna win.
Yeah. Could be. Yeah.
Jairzinho has finishes without even landing bombs. Like if you look at some of his fights, he just touches and it's like, oh shit, he's out.
Yeah. He's got sneaky power.
Yeah, it's hard to pick. You can just flip that. That is really a flip a coin kind of a fight. Like I really can't even lean any way.
Yeah. Would you say that Jairzinho is the best striker that Ngannou has faced in the UFC? To kind of refresh your memory, Ngannou has fought Junior Dos Santos, Derek Lewis. He's fought Stipe. He's fought Alistair Overeem. And that's about it as far as the best strikers that he's fought.
No, I can't say he's the best. I think like when it comes to skills, I think Alistair Overeem is probably like pure striking, probably the best striker that he's ever fought, and we saw what happened with that one. So
yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting. I would say that maybe as of now, because Alistair has kind of changed his style over the years, but I think Jairzinho might have the power edge a little bit. He certainly seems to be getting more finishes than Overeem as of late.
Yeah.
And it seems his chin is holds up a lot better than Overeem's.
Yeah, but it's fucking heavy.
Ngannou, what does the chin even mean? Like,
yeah, Ngannou can knock your chin off, so I don't know how much that's gonna even matter. Yeah. I feel like if Ngannou lands a bomb on anyone, it's a wrap.
What do you got in this one? It's heavyweight, man.
Just for the simple fact that Jairzinho has been asking for this fight and begging for this fight, and he's been calling him out. So it's like nobody else was calling him out. So I think he's gonna come in there and go after him. So I'm gonna go with Jairzinho just to mix it up a little bit.
This might come as a surprise, but I actually picked Jairzinho on my staff picks.
Oh yeah.
Yep, I have a feeling. One that he's been calling him out like nobody calls out Ngannou, and also like Jairzinho. I think he's for MMA. I think he's got probably the best striking that Ngannou has faced. I think Jairzinho has a lot of power. He's very good defensively. But again, I'm not discarding the idea that Ngannou can go in there and knock his head off. That's obviously very, very possible. But we've seen Ngannou gas before, especially in the Stipe fight. And all his last 3 fights all ended in the first round. I think Jairzinho might have the tools to maybe not take that much damage in the first couple rounds, and then catch him maybe deeper into second or third.
That's a good point. I'm thinking this fight like it's booked for one round. Honestly, that's how I'm thinking about it in my head. But that's a good point. If it goes past, then yeah.
Yep.
Who's the favorite? Is Ngannou? I'm assuming he's a favorite. You know the line?
I'll tell you right now. I think Ngannou should be the favorite, but not by much. I believe when I looked at the odds, it was like a couple of days ago. Jairzinho might have been like a +1 something. So it's not that bad. Like it's not that off,
That kind of sucks. I was gonna try to gamble a little bit tomorrow, maybe throw some money on him, but
it's a good card if you're gonna place bets. It's a good card because there are a lot of live underdogs here, like Jairzinho, Gaethje.
But they're close. They're close underdogs. There's no like good underdog that I'm like, oh no, he's gonna win. You know what I mean? I like betting on those guys.
Yeah. Trying to find the odds here.
Who's the biggest underdog in the card?
What's up?
Who's the biggest underdog in the card? Probably Sam Alvey.
Maybe. I'm loading the odds right now. It's loading. I'm trying to think. Let me see. At the top of my head.
I know Uriah Hall wasn't that big of an underdog.
Biggest underdog. I wonder. Yeah, maybe Sam Alvey. Maybe.
I would assume just because Span's been looking good.
Yeah. All right, so I got the odds pulled up here. Wait, what's this? All right, this thing ain't loading. Let's see. All right. Sam Alvey's a +325, and I don't. Yeah, there's nobody else that's a bigger underdog.
Yeah. That's how good the card is.
Yeah. I think the biggest underdog that follows him is Alexei Oleinik at +255.
That's it.
But other than that, yeah, 325 plus 325. Sam Alvey's the biggest underdog. And as far as the Jairzinho and Ngannou bout, okay, that's actually a lot, not as close as I thought it'd be. Jairzinho's a plus 225.
Okay, then maybe yeah, all right. Maybe I'll throw
Pretty
some
big
money on that.
underdog.
Put that in the parlay or something.
Yeah. So I'm gonna read the fights that we just broke down, the odds, just so
Yeah.
people know. So Tony Ferguson is a minus 210. Justin Gaethje a plus 170. I would say it's a little. I feel like it's a little closer than that, but it's somewhat indicative of how I feel a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know if you agree. Then Henry Cejudo is a minus 210, and Dominick Cruz is a plus 170. Very much like the main event there. I feel like that's pretty accurate. And then the Ngannou fight with Rozenstruik, like I said, minus 185 Ngannou, plus 225 Rozenstruik. I feel like it's heavyweight. It should be a little closer, but who knows?
Yeah. It probably should be, but I'm happy it's not. Honestly.
Yeah. All right. So I said we would feature questions, so I'm gonna look over the live chat right now. If you got any questions for Shane or myself, throw them on there and we'll address them.
We can go through the entire card if you want to do picks for the entire card now.
Well, we can do that. Yeah, we can do that after we get questions. So we got a question by Amy Wheat, and she says thoughts on Steven's missing weight.
Man, that's a great question because he's been training for this fight. Like he was supposed to fight April 18th, right? That fight was booked for a booking card. So
yeah,
and
the fight with Cater's been booked 3 times. Like, this is the 3rd time.
Yeah, and so he's known about it. So it is interesting, but it sucks. I mean, I don't know what he came in at, but you saw him at weigh-ins. He looked like he tried. His eyes were sunken in. He tried to make the weight. He just couldn't make the weight. I know they didn't have saunas for this fight. I don't know how he tries to cut weight normally, but I know the saunas weren't working, so they used just the portable saunas, which is completely different than a regular sauna. So that might have fucked it up. But he missed by 4.5, and that's a lot. So that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of weight. We'll see, but often we see in the UFC the heavier guy, especially it used to be a thing where like the heavier guy was the guy dehydrated and we'd see him fade. But like, I don't know what changed in the last few years, but we've seen the heavier people start picking up wins and kind of either make the balance even or tip it over a bit.
Yeah, they had a whole somebody that made a whole breakdown on this. They wrote up all the fights, and it was like 75% of the fighters that miss weight end up winning. Last time Jeremy Stevens missed weight, he won too.
So Darth Vapor 2395. Not a question, but he says Shane is a badass in that cage. Huge respect. So
thank you, man. Thank you.
All right. All right. This one's a weird one. Would you rather get a Tony elbow or a Gaethje leg kick?
Oh God. I neither sound fucking fun, but I gotta go with the low kick just because I think it'll heal a lot quicker than a fucking elbow across the fucking forehead.
Yeah.
So I'll go with the low kick.
Yeah. Also, like if your leg, I mean, it would suck to have a limb, but it would suck to have like a nasty scar, like a broken nose. Like
yeah. I gotta go to the low kick.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. This is a little bit of a weird question. By the way, do you know who Tekashi 6ix9ine is?
Yeah, of course.
So somebody, that one dude said, did you watch the Tekashi 6ix9ine new video?
No, I got a couple of teammates that are obsessed with with them. So I hear them all the time in the gym. And I saw they posted the video. He sent it to me. I'm not a fan, but I didn't see the new video. Sorry if you're a fan. I'm not trying to offend you.
Look, I'll say this: I don't like his music, but I do think he's interesting. Like he's obviously a controversial. So I follow him on Instagram, and he does crazy shit. And actually, I live in Bushwick. I live in Brooklyn. This is where he's from. So this is his hood. So he lives in Bushwick, and people here, people that live here and lived here for a long time, they love his music. So often I wake up to somebody blasting Tekashi 6ix9ine and I mean, the nature of that rap is like that, so it's it's either that or reggaeton. I'll take reggaeton any day though.
Yeah, I agree.
But apparently, he dropped a new video and the dude apparently snitched, right? That's the whole thing. He snitched.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know the story.
He's still out here, you would think that he would go under kind of fall off and just go hide somewhere, but
Secret Service, make a new identity or something.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. But no, he doesn't care.
Do that. You got those 6ix9ine tattoos all over his body. I don't know what he's gonna have to do to get that removed.
I mean, the first thing would be to shave your head because the rainbow dreads and whatnot, like or ponytails or whatever, give it off. And I don't know, maybe some cover up. I don't know. Switch the 9 to an 8. I don't know.
Facial reconstruction or
Right,
something.
right, right. What's that movie with John Travolta and Nicolas Cage where the face off? Yeah, yeah.
Face
Do that. Just switch it with someone else. Pay like $1 million.
off.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Josh Edwards asks, "Do you think Jacare and Uriah's jobs are on the line with no crowd and no wooing? What are the odds Jacare takes it to the ground and just keeps it there?" Ooh, interesting question. First of all, so it's two questions here. Josh Edwards asks, "Do you think Jacare and Uriah's jobs are on the line?" Well, Josh, I mean, sorry. Uriah has actually been looking good recently. I think this could be a breakout performance for him, especially given his style. I think a fight with Israel Adesanya would be very, very appealing to a lot of people, given both of their styles. He's actually in a 2-fight win streak. Defeated Bevan Lewis, knocked him out, and then fought Antonio Carlos Jr. to a split decision. I remember that fight being pretty good. So he's been looking good. So definitely not for Uriah, but what do you think about Jacare?
No, I don't think they're going to cut Jacare. I mean, there's too much stock. You cut him, he's going right to Bellator. He's probably going to get paid. So it's like that would be stupid. And he's still got a name, and I think if anything, the UFC would try to use his name to build up other guys, up and comers. So I don't think that either of their jobs are on the line. But the fight itself is it's a classic, one of those striker versus grappler fights.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I mean, he's in a 2-fight losing streak. That's not bad, especially considering that he's a former Strikeforce champion and he's got a big name. And like you said, you can give him to these young up-and-comer guys that will either, tell the UFC like, all right, this kid's ain't ready, or it will just boost him up, obviously, with a big name over a guy like Jacare. And also, this is his first fight back at middleweight. The last fight he fought was against Jan Blachowicz at light heavyweight. And I feel like it does matter a little bit when guys change between weight classes, kind of like a reset button. So it doesn't really feel like, back-to-back losses, even though they are. I think the weight class change does something. I don't know if you agree.
100%.
Yeah. And also, this is a good question. It's kind of silly the way Josh asked it. Like, I appreciate it. It's very funny. But this is actually very serious. With no crowd and no wooing, what are the odds Jacare takes it to the ground and just keeps it there? I would like to alter and say this. How much do you think the lack of crowd, would impact a referee's decision to stand up the fight? Because we often see it as soon as the crowd starts booing, it gets real loud. They get stand up. I don't know if there's a correlation there, but it's certainly pressure on the referee.
No, that's definitely a great question. We're going to get 0 woos and 0 boos, 0 chance. So I think that wouldn't shock me if he tried to do that. It really wouldn't shock me. Honestly, it would be the smart thing for him to do. Why would he try to stand with Uriah? I don't think he'll just take him down and just try to hold him down. I really do think he'll try to pass, try to submit, because he's one of the best grapplers in the world. But it would be stupid to what do you think he's going to play pip or pat with Uriah? That would be a death sentence. Obviously, Uriah is going to try to implement that and stuff his takedowns, but Jacare is 100% going to try to take him down and try to hold him down and try to submit him.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how that's going to play out. Part of me, I don't know. It's a tough one. I think getting past Shoeface in his last fight, obviously Uriah Hall, I think that's huge preparation for this fight. So usually that was kind of like his weakness, wrestlers and grapplers. But I think he's turned a corner somewhat, even at this late stage of his career. So curious to see how he looks against Jacare.
He started training in Dallas or somewhere in Texas with Fortis MMA. I know he's been training at the gym and been doing him good. And I'm happy that the judges got that fight right. By the way, they didn't get enough props for that because Carlos Jr. had his back at points but did no damage, and Uriah actually did a lot more damage from the bottom and in these weird positions. And I was like, fuck, they're gonna give it to this other guy just based on holding, but they actually gave it to Uriah, and I was happy with that. Yeah. So his defense is great because Carlos Jr. gets your back and dude finishes everybody.
Right, exactly. Yeah. All right, so we got another question by Camolina3. He says, "What's more likely to happen? Cruz by KO or Gaethje by submission?"
Oh, Cruz by KO. I think. I don't think Gaethje would even go for the submission. I don't. Yeah, they got to go Cruz by KO.
All right, this is the last question, and maybe we can after this we can do a just pick them, down the fight card. So so fans know what's up. How do you feel about these matchups? So the last question is by Captain Underpants. Do you like long walks?
I know I do not like long walks, but the funny thing is actually, like since we've been in quarantine, like there's nothing to do over here. So my wife has been making me go on walks like 4 or 5 times a week, and I do not like it at all because I live in a very hilly area, so it's just like uphill and down, uphill, down. So I do not like long walks. If it was a flat incline, nothing like that, when I'm just chilling, then yeah, I'm cool with long walks. But after I'm done training or before I go to training, I don't want to go fucking walk.
Right, yeah. No, certainly walking was like a thing. I mean, living in the city, like you walk everywhere because you take the subway and then you got to walk somewhere. So it's like, it's kind of part of your daily routine. So like, usually like walking has become like such I mean, people do it automatically. Obviously, it's not like you think about walking, but
Yeah.
like, but it's certainly something you never think of. It's just like, oh yeah, I'll just walk everywhere, and you're always listening to music or a podcast or talking to someone if you're walking with someone or thinking of something. Like you're never like, this is the first time since the quarantine where you're like walking has become like an activity. Like I'm just gonna go for a walk.
Yeah,
You're just like, all right, it's not that bad.
that's funny. You live in the city, so it's completely different than living where I live.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a different vibe out here. I wish I was in the suburbs. I would have way more space, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, that is the pro. Like the quarantine isn't that bad when you live over here because like I have a deck, like I can go. I have a neighborhood. I don't have anybody really next to me. I can go outside and not have to worry about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have anything like that. The only thing close to it would be going up to my rooftop. But the thing is, I have to go through my roommate's room. So one, that's not always available. If he's sleeping or whatever. And also the fire escape is kind of rusty. So I'm always like, is this the time that like Final Destination's gonna hit and I'm gonna die? Like, I'm on that thing. Like I go like on emergency, like when I need some sun, and I'm like, bro, like I can't
Yeah,
take it anymore. Um,
I would have to take the risk. I can't imagine.
exactly. Yeah.
I know people that are in the city that are quarantining, staying home. Fucking props.
Dude.
I'm in
Yeah,
my
it's
house.
rough.
Like, fuck. I go on the deck and I'm tired of the deck. Like I can't imagine being stuck in an apartment. Like, dude, that's rough.
Yeah, dude, my crisis was so bad. I ended up getting a dog.
What did you get?
I got a dog.
That's funny. I got a cat. My
Yeah.
daughter's been begging me for a cat. Like, so we were like, all right,
No,
fine.
I'm like, dude, if there's a time to get a dog, is now. So I'm like, F it, I'll get a dog. Yeah. All right. So before we get out of here, I don't want to steal any more of your time. I initially told you
All good,
like
brother.
30 minutes. We're an hour deep.
I
But I
mean,
appreciate your time and your insight. It's been great.
yeah, man.
So let's go down the line. So we finished off at Ngannou Jairzinho Rozenstruik. So let's we'll do quick picks, but also I'll do mine just the pick. I also would like a little breakdown of the fight on your end. It doesn't have to be anything too extensive, but I certainly want your thoughts on the fight. So this is happening at a catchweight, but originally your weight class. Jeremy Steven Jeremy Stevens versus Calvin Cater. A pretty good fight. How do you feel about it, and who do you got?
I love that fight. That's an awesome fight. I mean, any fight in my weight class, I'm obviously interested in, but that's a great one. Calvin, obviously, me and him have history. We fought, he won. So I mean, if you beat me, I've only lost once. So I'm definitely pulling for him. But aside from the fact that I'm pulling for him, I do think he's going to win. I think his boxing is really, really sharp, really crisp. So I'm going to go with Calvin by I'm going to go with him by decision.
Yeah.
Jeremy.
Yeah, I agree. I think Calvin. I think you two are, and I'm not blowing any smoke up your ass. I'm just being honest here. I think you two are some of the most promising talents in that division right now. I mean, certainly, obviously, Jeremy Stevens is a veteran and he's a very good fighter as well. But you guys are doing this, whereas he, doing this, so you can see. Whereas he is more like, he's been sort of at a level. And I don't know how you feel about this, but whenever you guys fought, as soon as that was booked, I knew that you guys were very talented and were prospects at the time. I would actually consider you guys contenders. Obviously, you guys are in the rankings now, but it feels like you will meet them again down the line. I don't know if you agree.
No, I definitely agree. I think, I mean, we're in the top 10. There's only so many more fights that we can have. I think that for sure. And on top of the fact that we got fight of the night, like, it was a fun fight. Like,
Yeah.
fans want to see it. So, yeah, I think it'll happen again.
Yeah. All right. I agree. I got Cater in that one. So the last fight on the main card, on the pay-per-view main card, it's a heavyweight bout between Greg Hardy and Jorgan De Castro. Who you got?
That's another one. It's a heavyweight fight, so it's hard to fucking pick. But I'm gonna. I don't know much about Jorgen. I saw his last fight, and then I saw the fight before that in the Contender Series.
Yeah.
Greg Hardy's been trained. I don't even know where the guy trains at, so like I feel stupid picking this one. But I'm gonna go with Greg Hardy just because I know he's coming from a reputable team. He's been in there with some tough guys too.
Yeah. So he had an interesting camp because he's been doing all his training at American Top Team, but he was doing it with Dean Thomas, and Dean Thomas left American Top Team. So he was kind of left without coaches. And for this camp, from what he said, he went down there a couple times, but he was scared to take planes because he has asthma issues.
Yeah.
So he was scared of COVID-19, obviously, rightfully so, because it attacks your respiratory system. So he was driving from I believe Dallas uh, to Florida to train,
Oh,
like back and forth, back and forth. And then he's like, "F this, it's too much work." So he, I believe, got a few guys together in Dallas. I don't know who, and did some training there. So
that's good insight. So that's another. Who's the favorite? I think Hardy was the favorite, right?
Hardy's the favorite, yeah. I mean, he's certainly the better athlete, and they both have about the same experience. I would say De Castro seems to have a little bit more power,
Yeah,
but Hardy has, you know, I was skeptical about his run in MMA because you often see it like guys think just because they're athletic they can do well in MMA, and it's a completely different sport. But he's actually had a decent transition where you actually see improvement every fight.
yeah, for
So
sure. I think he's definitely gotten better. If you just watch that last, even the fight that he lost with
I mean, he
well,
fought a top five, like a top five guy. That the Volkov guy is pretty good.
yeah, no,
Former
that
Bellator
was
champ.
that was a great fight for him to take too. It was, and he lost the decision. It wasn't like he got knocked
Exactly.
out. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I think I'm leaning Hardy, but again, heavyweight,
yeah,
anything goes.
exactly.
Yeah. So let's go down to the preliminary card on ESPN. The main event for that card, for that portion of the card, is a welterweight bout between Donald Cerrone and Anthony Pettis. Good fight. Two
That's
veterans, about the
fun.
same spot of their career. Who you got?
I'm gonna go with Pettis again in this one. Big Cowboy fan, big Pettis fan too. But Cowboy's so honest in his interviews, and if you watch his interviews with, I think he did one with Akamoto, he was just
Mm-hmm.
saying like he hasn't done shit like when it comes to training. He was like, I haven't been training at all after the Conor fight, and I understand because he was devastated after that loss. Um, but him telling me that is like, damn. So he's probably just been sitting back drinking Budweiser this whole time. Got the call for the fight against Pettis, and what did he have, like 4 weeks, 3 weeks notice, or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think Pettis has been staying active at least. Like I don't think he's been sitting home drinking Budweiser. So I'm gonna go with Pettis by maybe another. It might be another body shot TKO with that damn kick. He's got a good body kick, but I don't know. I'm just gonna pick Pettis. I'm not gonna give a prediction on the finish or anything.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. I think, and this is no knock on Donald, but Donald's a guy that likes to fight and likes to be active. And I mean, he obviously, I'm sure he cares about the title, but that doesn't seem that's a huge priority to him. I mean, I think his biggest thing is just getting in the cage as often as he can because he enjoys it so much. And something that I've seen, I mean, personally, I think he's done some evolution in his past before, but as of recently, he kind of is the fighter who he is, right? And he hasn't added all that many new wrinkles to his game. And I think he's still susceptible to body shots. We've seen that take a toll on him whenever he fights, and Pettis knows that. And Pettis got he can punch you on the body, he can kick you with the body as well. I mean, it just seems like I feel like it could very well play out like the first bout.
Yeah, big.
We'll see. So I'm picking Pettis, but you never know. Another heavyweight bout right below that, it is Alexei Oleinik versus Fabricio Werdum. Fabricio Werdum returns from I believe, a USADA suspension, if I'm not mistaken. It's
Yes,
been a while since we've seen him in action. Last time he fought was against Volkov, and he lost via KO back in 2018. And Oleinik's got that Ezekiel choke, man.
that boa constrictor.
Yeah,
That's another. That's a, if Verdum wasn't just coming back from what he's coming back from, I'd probably pick him. I think he's just a cleaner fighter, but I haven't seen him. I don't know what the hell he's been doing this whole time. So
a lot of unknowns. Yeah.
yeah, a lot of unknowns. And I'm gonna go with underdog. I'm gonna pick Olenek. He's got the same management team as me as well, so I'm rooting for him.
I can't wait till a fight hits the ground because both of them they got that old man jiu-jitsu, like
Yeah, yeah.
it's like
Like
very tricky, mañoso, how you say in Spanish, like yeah, how to translate, like they have a lot of yeah, a lot of tricks, like
he's got
old
that
man
grown man
tricks.
strength too, man. That dad strength.
Exactly, yeah. But Oleinik is just a fascinating fighter. Have you ever been submitted, or have you ever done an Ezekiel choke?
I've done it before, but not on like a high level or anything.
Yeah,
I did it when I
like
back when I was
training.
like, yeah, in training, not a fighter. And that is not a easy way to win. And the fact that this dude came in with it means that he has a deadly grip.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is that people know, like it's
Yeah,
out there, like this is how he wins, and they still get caught in it.
he must. Yeah, it's one of those things you kind of just sleep on it because you're like, I'm not gonna call it that. That's stupid. I have my two hands free. I can just do something with them. Like you would think that, but apparently their two hands can't do shit against it.
Yeah. Not gonna lie, when I was a white belt, like 6 months training in, I went through a little phase where I try to get good at the Ezekiel choke, and that was like all the thing that I did in training. Because in the gi, it's so much easier. You
Yeah.
just slip your thumb through the
Yep.
lapel. Um, but yeah, but then I'm like, yeah, this is stupid. I'm gonna do other shit. But no, it's definitely a very effective technique. One that I didn't think it'd be effective in like Nogi or MMA, but certainly Olinik making the most of it, and that thing works wonders for him.
The master.
Yeah. So then right below that, and this is actually the only women's fight on the card, and it's a pretty good fight.
I like it.
It's a strawweight fight between Carla Esparza versus Michelle Watterson. Um, Karate versus wrestling. How do you see this one going?
I gotta lean towards the wrestler. I gotta lean towards Esparza. I'm rooting for Michelle Waterson. I'm a big fan of her. She's always fun to watch. I like her striking too, but I don't think Carla's gonna give her any space to strike. I think she's gonna shoot her off the bat like she always does, and we've seen how good she is when it comes to wrestling. And I don't know if Waterson's wrestling is defense is gonna be enough to keep it on the feet. So I'm gonna go with Esparza by decision.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait. Who'd you say? Esparza?
Esparza decision. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Sparsa as well. I think Watterson. I think Watterson could offer something interesting in the fact that she is a karate striker, so like she has that range, so she could give issues
Yep. The
to
side kicks and
Sparsa on
everything.
that end. But like someone that's sneakily fun to watch is Carla Sparsa. Her wrestling is fun to watch, man.
Good.
I really enjoy it.
Good chain wrestler.
It's Yeah, it's so good. It's so underrated too. Like the way she chains, takedowns like doubles to singles and back and
Yeah.
forth, and it's just great. I think Carlos Esparza is a sneaky good fighter to watch.
Good
Um,
pick.
she's obviously known to be very skilled, but maybe not to be like an exciting fighter. But whenever I watch her fight, it's always good. For me, it's entertaining stuff.
Yeah. You picking her by decision too?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think she beats Watterson. Yep. Let me see. She might be the best wrestler Watterson has ever faced. I think. Let me see. I'm trying to look down her record right now. Yeah, I mean the last fighters that she's fought: Yana Jacek, striker; Karolina Kowalkiewicz, striker; Felice Herrig, striker; Courtney Casey can wrestle. Tisha Torres can wrestle. But I think out of all those, I think Sparsa is the better wrestler.
Yeah, you gotta say.
Yeah, it's a good fight. All right, so right below that, and that is the last fight. That is the fight that will be opening up the prelim card on ESPN. It's a middleweight bout between Uriah Hall and Jacare Souza. We kind of talked about it briefly on one of the questions, but we didn't give a prediction. How do you see this one going?
Man, that's another that's a fun
Tough,
fight.
man. That's a tough fight to call.
Like man, I love Uriah. That's just like he's fighting the best grappler in the world. If it goes to the ground, like he's so dangerous. But no, fuck it. He's done it. He did to Musasi. I'm going with Uriah. He's gonna land that fucking spinning jump spinning back kick right to Jacare.
Dude, that is a tough fight to call. Like, normally I would go with Jacare, but Jacare has looked kind of flat, if I'm being honest, in his last
Yeah,
performances.
exactly.
Granted, one was at light heavyweight, and I think, given the fact that grappling is his strength and, size influences a lot in grappling, that could have been something there. But, he has looked a little bit flat in his performances, while Uriah Hall has done quite the opposite, has looked good. He's peaking, even at a late age. How old is he? 35, man. I think
Yeah,
he's the best he's ever looked.
I agree.
And like you mentioned earlier in this video, the shoe face fight with Antonio Carlos Jr. is a good test. Like if you can get past him and not get submitted, not saying you can't get submitted against Jacare, but it's a pretty good test.
Yep. So I'm leaning towards Uriah. I gotta go with
I'm
Uriah.
leaning towards Uriah too. I think
And
he
back.
can pull it off. However, I'm gonna go with decision. I don't think he stops Jacare. Jacare is gonna hang in there and grind something out. Honestly, could be fight of the night. To be honest, sneaky.
Dude, that's hard to fucking predict. Any of these fights could be fight on the night.
Yeah, yeah. But I don't know if you remember, like a few years ago, before the Jacare Manson fight, before Jacare went up to 205, he had that one stretch where every fight was a banger. Like the Chris Weidman fight was one fight of the night, was amazing. The Kelvin Gastelum fight, that split decision, was wild.
Yeah.
And then the Derek Brunson fight was pretty good as well. Like
Yeah.
those three fights were amazing. But we'll see. But yeah, going with Uriah Hall on this one. All right, so now we go to the ESPN Plus portion of the card. On the very top, man, I am so excited for this fight. After the title fights, I think this is my favorite fight. It is Vicente Luque versus Nico Price. Holy hell, what a fight! Who you got in this one?
That's a fun one, man. I'm gonna go. They fought already, and Luque won the first
Yeah,
time.
they fought in 2017. Luque took the fight on short notice. Nico Price was left without an opponent. It was a fun fight, and I believe it ended in the first or second round via Darce choke, Luque winning.
Okay, yeah. So
Third
yeah,
round.
just
No, sorry. Second round. Second round Darce choke in Brazil.
I'm gonna pick Luque in this one. I think he's the crispier striker on the feet, and I don't think he's gonna try to shoot on this one. Even though he did smit Price previously, I think he's gonna stay keep on the feet, which would make for a fucking fun fight because Price is always fun to watch, and Price is so dangerous on the ground, like with his unorthodox strikes that we've seen before, that we talked about before. That I think Luque is just gonna keep on the feet, try to piece him up, look for the finish on there. But I don't know if he gets it, so I'm gonna pick Luque by decision.
I'm gonna go with Luque as well. But you can't count out Price. I agree with you. I think Price. I mean, who the hell knocks somebody out while on their back using hammer fist? Like how's that even possible? But he did it. I think Price is a live dog. I think he's although he's kind of wild and his style is kind of crazy and he's known for a brawler. I've seen improvement. There's a lot of technique behind that. But I do agree. I think Luque is probably a level above him as far as technique goes. So could very well get caught. Luque could very well get caught, but if that doesn't happen, I can see him taking a decision. And Nico Price is tough as shit, so he can definitely hang in there with someone of the caliber of Luque. So I agree with you there. Then we're back to your division, a fun fight. Somebody you fought actually before, Charles Rosa. He'll be taking on Bryce Mitchell, the guy who got his nutsack ripped apart by a drill.
That's funny. I thought you were gonna say the guy that won with the twister because that's
that
also
too,
what he's.
yeah, he did.
That's funny.
Yeah, that
Well,
too.
that's a great fight. Like I said, the featherweight division, I love it. It's always fun fights. Rose is always in fun fights. Me and him had a fucking war. We had a fun fight. Mitchell's been looking good lately, so if that's a close fight, oh man, it's a really close fight. I'm leaning towards Rosa just because level of competition he's fought. He's fought a lot of good guys.
Yeah.
But Mitchell, man, he's good. He's tough. He's fucking like Arkansas hillbilly tough, and like the dude's scrappy. Like his jiu-jitsu is really good. Like you wouldn't think that great jiu-jitsu would come out of Arkansas, but the dude's proven everybody fucking wrong, saying you can be from Arkansas, you can be from where the fuck you're from, and be great still. So I respect that. It's just it's a hard one to pick for me. It's probably one of my harder ones to pick. A lot of people are asking me, like I give a lot of like my friends tips on bets and stuff. I'm like I'm staying away from that one because I'm like I don't know. Mitchell looked good in his last fight because he smoked Sales really quick with that twister, but then Rosa got that armbar in his last fight, but he was losing up until that point.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it makes it even harder. I'm like Rosa's fought so much tougher opponents, but like fuck. So I'm gonna go with Rosa by decision, but man, I don't. That's a tough one. Would not shock me whatsoever if Mitchell won.
Yeah,
Mitchell.
Rosa definitely has the experience edge. I mean, he's been fighting in the UFC for a while. He's gotten many looks within that, many world class looks. You guys, you two had a great fight. One fight of the night, right?
Yeah. Yep.
50 G's, right? Or 60?
50. I wish it was 60.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a good fight. And he's a guy that can do it all. I mean, he can strike. He's got good striking. He can grapple as well.
Yeah.
Very, very good scrambler. Has like, I don't know. He reminds me of someone, but I can't remember who. But like, it's one of these guys that like just and I don't mean this as a knock, but like kind of like a Honda Civic, just like well-rounded everywhere. Like he's not exactly the most flashy guy, but like he can do it all.
I think this fight's actually going to be a lot on feet. I don't think either of them are gonna shoot because I think they both have respect for each other's jiu-jitsu. I know Rose has been saying if he takes me down, I'm gonna break his arm off, but I think Rose is going to keep it on the feet because I do think that he is a little bit of a better striker.
Yeah, well, probably. Yeah, I would say I would even give Mitchell the jiu-jitsu. I'm gonna go with Mitchell because I don't know, he's undefeated and just to kind of pick against you as well. So
that's cool, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Mitchell, but yeah, great fight. And then right below that, probably no. We said at least according to the odds, the betting odds, it's the most the least even fight here. It's a light heavyweight bout between Ryan Spann and Sam Alvey. Who you got?
I gotta go with Spann. Spann's been looking good, man. Alvey, this is a 205, right?
Yep, 205.
Alvey was at 185. He was doing some things where I was like, damn, this guy's a lot better than you would think. Like he's won a decent amount of fights just like out of nowhere, and the guy's got shocking power.
Shocking, yep.
like deceiving power. Like you do not expect this guy to hit hard. He's funny with the big smile on his face. Seems like a super nice guy. But I gotta go with Span. I'm gonna go Span by decision.
Yes, if this was, if he was fighting, I think still 185 is the best weight class for
Yeah.
Sam Alvey. I mean, he just looks undersized, and he doesn't look all that ripped at 205. So I think that's going against him. And yeah, Span has looked great in his last bout. Two finishes in his last two. Submission choke to Devin Clark, guillotine choke, and then prior to that, knocked out Lil Nog in Brazil.
Yep.
So yeah, he's looked good. Also, I feel like has Sam Alvey been active? I can't remember the last time he fought.
Yeah, I think he pulled out of his last fight.
Yeah, he hasn't fought in a minute, dude. He hasn't fought since July 2019.
Okay. Don't. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's been a while. And he's on a 3-fight losing streak. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Ryan Spann as well. All right, man. Well, this was fun, dude. I really appreciate you joining me on this video. Sorry I kept you a whole hour here, but hopefully you had just as much fun as me doing it.
For sure.
All right, man. Well, about just lastly, any update on your fighting career? What's going on? We know that you recently signed a new deal with the UFC, and you're very happy about that. What's been going on? What have you been up to?
We're in talks. We're looking for someone in June, trying to lock down the opponent and everything like that. But it's looking like June's going to be the next time I'll be there. So not that far. I'm in fight shape. I'm ready to go now. So look out for me within the next couple weeks to announce something.
Yeah. Anybody you have your eye on?
Everybody.
Everybody. All right. Yeah. And in these times, it kind of seems like you just gotta, people have travel bans. It seems there's a lot of hurdles in the way to get specific opponents. So it kind of seems like you just got to be in fight shape and ready to go, right?
Exactly. That's all I've been doing. Yeah. Training.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you joining me, and can't wait to. We're also gonna do just reminder. We're gonna do a post fight coverage. So sometime Sunday, I still don't have the details on that, but sometime Sunday we're gonna do another one of these. So make sure you tune into that, and yeah, I'll see you after the fights. Enjoy the fights finally, all right?
Man. Have a good one, all right, brother.
All right, man.